Welcome to the Ticker Highlight Show. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. I am joined by the Queen of the Candles, one, Leisha J. Leslie. Of course, we're joined by the Viking of Volatility, Andrew T. Giovinazzi, and of course, the silent assassin, the Imperial Overlord of income option trading. He is Hans Albrecht. Welcome, everybody. This week, we are taking a look. Each week, we gather generally on Mondays, but we had yesterday off. So each week, we gather to analyze one stock. This week, we are looking at Meta. Now, before that, one of the ways that we find these names is through what is a pretty cool scanner that Andrew uses that is producing his next 5 big winners. That is Flash 5. And if you've not joined him for Flash 5, you can join in the room here. Or give my team a call, 888-872-3301. There's some really cool names. Everybody that joins will get Andrew's list of names that are on his watch list, and you'll be happy that you did. You went 10 out of 10 on Flash 10, or Andrew?
It was 9 out of 10, I believe, so far. But there's one as a straggler, but it's coming back. But it's straggling.
All right, it's a straggler. All right, so to get things started, let's have our own chief technical analyst, our head of all things candles. She is Leisha. Take us through the charts. What do you got here, Leisha?
I have Meta following my pitchfork very well, going back to last July. Held support back here, consolidating on it back in November. Held the median line up here in December, and has been flirting with this support level for a while now. That will be all important to maintain a close above 612. A close above 612, you'll revisit and retest those previous highs at 633. We don't hold 612, we could test 594. And then those other previous lows, 580, 585. I'm not seeing bullish bearish. It looks more to me like some consolidation, although it is kind of slowly marching higher. Your MACD's flat. That's what I have.
Slowly
now, the other major newsworthy name, we'd be remiss to ignore this, but we got our first downgrade, and we'll be talking about this in a little more detail. But I'm sure people are asking about Apple, because Apple is getting absolutely thwacked today. Got its first major downgrade in, years. And, it's at a multi-week low. What are you seeing here there, LJL?
Dude, your strangle call was pretty awesome. That thing has fallen like a brick through a window.
I don't say buy strangles very often, but when I do.
Nancy Pelosi was in the news selling her Apple shares.
Oh. Well, that's a double reason.
Well, she has to retire at some point. I guess not, because she's in Congress. She never has to retire.
Yeah. No, I don't think they do.
Warren Buffett sold his too, but who cares about that? But when Nancy Pelosi sells hers, boy,
I know.
attention.
You're right, Hans.
When Nancy's out,
Warren Buffett still owns a massive position in Apple. He sold some.
That's true.
All these people, all these conspiracy theorists were like, "Oh, Warren Buffett just dumped Bank of America. It's because he's shorting the banks. You got to buy gold." And it's like, no, he has to stay under 10% ownership, because otherwise he has to follow these crazy reporting rules, because there'll be a a large bank shareholder. Anywho, what do you got here in Apple here?
Well, I thought it was interesting, Mark. You had written that Apple's going lower over the weekend, and I'd written that it's a possible harami here and that it could be time to buy it. But luckily, I said to wait until it trades over 234. So I covered mine. You know what?
Yeah.
And you were right. Look at that.
So, and this is your TLT trade idea too. Like it's very, I have to say, it's the symmetry here is quite astounding. People are getting back into bonds and dumping Apple. Just saying, it's quite something.
It's a safe haven asset, and even more so than the bond market had been. Now that the bond market is bottom, they're moving back into that, especially had earnings. So it's an interesting play. We'll do a deeper dive into Apple next week, but I just wanted Alicia to give us a quick look at the charts. What's your downside here, Alicia?
220 right now. These previous lows going back to November. Watch 220. 220, and then below there, 215.
All right. There you have it. All right. Thanks, Alicia. Next up on our list, is going to be the man who threw this one out as our trade, which is Hans. Hans, you wanted to explore Meta. Why don't you talk about why you were really interested and what you're thinking about as we explore this?
Well, I love Meta, and that doesn't mean I like Zuck. I think he's annoying. I think he's really annoying. He's a big flip-flopper. But what isn't annoying is making money. And we should all be interested in that as investors, of course. So if you can put aside some of those things that I just mentioned, I think Meta is a really, really cool stock. I'm going to impress you guys with my knowledge of Greek linguistics. So Meta is a Greek prefix that means beyond, right? So you kind of, sometimes you hear, it almost sounds like one of these like kind of newish, new age type terms, but Meta means beyond. And so Meta is beyond compare in a lot of ways, right? They keep adding. I remember years ago, they were talking about how, it's just older people using it. The kids don't care about it anymore. They've gone from 2 billion users in the world to like almost 4. I mean, that's like half the world, right? It's unbelievable, their kind of adoption rate. And you cannot ignore that. And that is contributing to their strength as this revenue juggernaut. They're just an ad machine. They're one of my, I love Amazon. I love these names that kind of have all the data, that digital gold, right? I don't care if you think it's Bitcoin now. Digital gold is data, it's eyeballs, it's information. And there are a few companies that accumulate that better than Meta. Just simply, that's the way it is, right? And there's an old saying, I remember, he who has the most toys wins. Well, in the AI arms race, he who has the most data wins for the most part. So amazing strength there. And so as a result, we've seen this amazing cash flow explosion over the last few years. I think cash flow was up like 39%. So anyway, all those fundamental things aside, I think Meta is a company that can do well in good or bad times. Because in good times, it's sort of obvious, but in bad times, I think what departments do that are in charge of ad budgets is they kind of look for the best place to keep that money, right? They're not going to bother with some of these smaller entities. They're going to go to the ones with the greatest strength, and I think Meta is that one. So good times, bad times, Zeppelin in play there. Good times, bad times, Meta is going to win. So the question is, what do we do here, right? What do we do with Meta? It's looking good. I love it. 35 times next year's earnings, last I checked. I mean, you can't go wrong, right? This company is not super expensive, but it can be volatile. And we're seeing nice levels of volatility. Andrew's going to talk about that in a moment. Shorter, near-term vol is a little bit higher. But I think what could be interesting to do here is you might look at something a little further out. So I would go into a March if I were looking to do a covered call on my Meta holding, because it is a holding I'd like to hold on to. I would give myself a little bit of distance. So I position myself sort of up around the 670 strike level, which is probably about 8% higher than where we're trading today. And in March, you can probably get about 2.7% for about 2 months of work. So that's all time value that you can that is going to hit your bottom line over the next couple months in terms of cash flow gives you a nice extra distance to the strike of about 8%. So you get that call away return of about 10% if you do in fact get up to that strike. Now, I'm not a huge fan of selling earnings vol per se, because I think the gap risk is crazy. I don't think there's a lot of edge in it. But if you position yourself in a March, as opposed to something more near term or a February, you get something extra there that we call Vega benefit. So if we see a compression of volatility, which we generally do, I think March could come down probably 6 or 7 vol points. So you're going to get kind of that nice Vega compression potentially on the earnings report. And then you're going to have theta kick in, and that's going to be your sort of daily theta decay after that. I'd be looking at about a 50% win on that cover call, because I really don't want to get called away on this thing. So I'd be looking to grab about 50%, but that's where I want to position. I want some Vega exposure. I want some distance to the strike because I still like the name, and that's what I'm thinking on Meta.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right, so let's take a look a little bit at, come on, the fundamentals here. And, you know, the point I made on my piece about Meta is when you look at these mega caps, and fundamentally speaking, it's not that expensive. It's got a $1.5 trillion company with a PE at 28. Historically, that is high. But then when I pull up Apple, which is a $3.5 trillion company with PE of 34, doesn't sound so silly, does it? Or if I pull up Nvidia, which is a $3.3 trillion company and a PE of 55, doesn't sound so silly, does it? Or I pull up Microsoft, which is $3.2 trillion and a PE 35. Doesn't sound so silly, does it? In fact, or Tesla with a market cap of 1.4 trillion and a PE of 117. It doesn't sound so silly, does it? No. So, of the mega caps, the only name that is that has a lower price earnings ratio is going to be Google. And the reason being is Facebook. Instagram is great. People love it. But think about Facebook, right? Who is on Facebook? I'll tell you who's not on Facebook. Leisha's son, my son, Andrew's kids, Hans' kids. I'll tell you who's on Instagram. Leisha's son, my son, Andrew's kids, Hans's kids. Now, what is the big revenue driver? It's not Instagram. Instagram is huge. That was by far. That and YouTube are the two smartest corporate purchases maybe in history. People laughed at Zuck when he paid $6 billion. Was it $6 billion bucks for Instagram? People laughed at him.
I don't think it was that much. I think it might have been like 1 or 2, Mark.
Yeah, and people laughed at him. What are you, an idiot? Why are you buying this? It was strategically one of the smartest purchases ever made. Now, the other piece is WhatsApp that they own, and they still have yet to, I think, fully figure out how to monetize that. It is widely used. Everyone uses it worldwide, not here in the United States, right? Because the United States, things we don't use, the metric system and WhatsApp. But everywhere else in the world, they do. But they've yet to fully monetize that. So the question is, are they able to bleed out Facebook while continuing to keep Instagram growing and fully monetize WhatsApp? My guess is that they will be able to do that. And who knows, maybe Facebook will get retro cool at some point. Although I will say that never happened with MySpace. So
yeah, what was I could figure out what the difference between the two was. I mean, MySpace space is a lot older. I remember that, like,
yeah,
I
Well,
remember
there was a
MySpace
perception
like
of that
2006 or something.
There was a perception, likely pushed by Facebook, that MySpace was loaded with creepy old men. And that is now my Facebook account is so old that I had to sign up with my college email to sign up. Because originally you had to have a college email to be a member, and that's what got it going. Is you had to be young to be on it, and then the old people came in and ruined it with all their talk of, politics and the way things used to be. And
Yeah, I think my friends from college told me to open a Facebook account. I haven't been into it though in 4 years since the COVID thing.
I write on your Facebook board all the time.
Oh, do you? Oh,
No. No, I don't. So
I hate
I haven't
Facebook.
posted anything in a while.
now it's a good way to, if you manage it right, it's not bad. It's a good way to make sure to see what people are up to, and good for like alumni groups, things like that.
Have you ever tried to use Facebook Marketplace? You pull your hair out trying to figure this thing out.
Why would I do that?
Right. It's brutal.
No. I'm gonna go on Facebook to save $3 on a used toaster so I can meet some random creepy guy with a 30% chance he's gonna mug me.
I mean, we have found stuff there on it, I believe.
There you go.
We got a rug for the basement there, I think. Maybe even a pool table, because in Maine we have Uncle Uncle Henry's. It's a little book that's like the Facebook Marketplace. You just go to the hardware store and it's literally a printed out book.
I think there's some sort of bargaining rule that I don't know about, unwritten rule. Like if you offer something for $95, somebody else will offer you $75 for it. And if you offer it for $55, they'll offer you 30. Whatever it is, they will offer you 20% less. It is automatic. It is really annoying.
Dude, I bought an engine for my CRV a couple of years ago on Facebook Marketplace. Basically a brand new Honda CRV engine for like $1,000 or something, $800.
All right. Now, before we go any further down this rabbit hole, which we're already deep in,
yes.
Let's flip it to Andrew and talk about the implied volatility and what he's looking at for Meta.
No rabbits in this. Well, you know what? Look at this is kind of interesting. Hans was saying, well, here, let me just do this. Okay, so I mean, Facebook was what, $80 in 2022, and everything was terrible, right? Mm-hmm. And Zuck, as usual, turns things around or whatever. But what I want you to see here, do you guys see this longer term vol? Does that look very high to you?
No.
It does not, right? So this to me, I think you set up some kind of here, I'm just going to show you this here. Hans' idea of selling that short-term call kind of got my little spidey senses. But now, clearly, you could have this huge dip in vol.
Yeah, you have earnings on the 29th.
Right. But I think you could maybe work into a diagonal calendar type spread, like selling an earnings, like you said, one of those big upside calls, buying kind of an in-the-money call, near the money call or something. I think that could set up pretty well, but this is a pretty good, clearly, the stock is up fourfold. Since even the beginning of last year, 2023. So it has made quite a move, but also the earnings have been huge. So anyway, I would just say those are not unread. Now it could dip down, but see, that's only like a 2-point dip here. So it could easily be covered by selling a forward call. So I'm just saying, it didn't look like too bad of a play to kind of do a poor man's covered call instead of.
I think that makes some sense. So
there you go. That's an idea. That's what I got.
I like it. My verdict would be don't buy Facebook and just buy Reddit and close your eyes anyway.
Well, that's another idea.
So buy the new Facebook, right? Buy
Yes.
the new Facebook.
Right.
All right, everybody. We'll be back at our normal time on Monday. We want to thank you guys for joining us today. So for Leisha J. Leslie, the Queen of the Candles, and of course Andrew T., the scarfed wonder of the Northeast, and Hans J. Albrecht, the Canadian assassin. I'm Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Have a great trading week.